What's up, everyone? Welcome to This Day in Philly Sports History for January 4th, 2023. No real updates on the Eagles' injury front. I'm not sure if that is because they didn't practice yesterday or if they did and they just did not have any press conferences because of everything that was going on. So hopefully we have more info on that as we move out throughout today. Looking to see what's up with Josh Sweat. I think he was released from the hospital, but again, without any press conferences, I didn't, and to be completely honest, I did not look too hard. I was more concerned with the situation that was going on in Buffalo. Speaking of which, the NFL did say they are not going to continue that game this week. It remains to be seen what happens. I guess a lot's going to be determined. What goes on this week as far as everybody clinching. And one thing I will say the NFL does, you have, and I guess I see why they do it. They want to build the drama. It's good for, I'm sure, the TV revenue and everything like that. But the Eagles will play at 4 against the Giants, and the Cowboys will play Washington at 4. But Minnesota, the way they do it, like I said, I get it. I would much rather just all be at one time, and just that way by like 4 o'clock instead of waiting all day to see what happens. But typically you have 3 different teams that'll play on Sunday. Week 18 is always a mess. So you have like the Eagles who have something to play for, who are going to be trying. Luckily for them, everything is in their hands because they played so well this season. So all they need to do is win, and they don't have to rely on other teams to get their job done. But then at the same time, you have teams like the Giants who absolutely have nothing to play for other than the possibility of spoiling the Eagles' season. But I will say they're locked into their playoff spot no matter what. And yes, I listen, I can be spiteful and petty with the best of them. I'm not going to risk my own advancement and health for the playoffs just to fuck up with my enemy. So I can't speak for the Giants. I don't know if they're going to do that. They're still bitter about a couple of years ago with Dougie P. But I can't see them necessarily going all out and putting up much of an effort. But you never know. But so you have that wild card, and then you have the wild card of the other teams that don't have anything to play for, just trying to get through the week so they can go play golf on Monday. So it's week 18 is always an interesting time in the NFL, and it remains to be seen. Like I said, I haven't heard anything from Giants camp or the Eagles injury front to see what's going on with Jalen, Gardner Johnson, if Sweat got out of the hospital, all of that stuff. So it remains to be seen. Hopefully, as today goes, we'll get more updates, and I'll have more for you tomorrow about where we are. Because I haven't even been able to, with everything that was happening with the Cincinnati-Buffalo game and just the prayers going out to everyone, haven't even thought about the actual X's and O's of that Eagles game yet. So I'm hoping as the day goes, more information will come in, and then we can hopefully get an update from there. So stay tuned for that. Sixers continue their homestand tonight versus the Pacers. I'm looking forward to going down with my wife and kids on Friday. I know my son is super, super excited to go down and see his first Sixers game, so that should be a good time. Hopefully they can keep it rolling like how they have been at home, and hopefully it's no load management and I get to actually see the starters play. Temple takes on South Florida tonight in AAC action. And South Florida is going to be involved somewhat in today's This Day in Philly Sports History. So let's just go ahead and get right into it. We're going to go back to 2012. So This Day in Philly Sports History, January 4th, 2012. The Temple Owls were closing out their non-conference schedule against number 5 ranked Duke down at the Wells Fargo Center, which I get you can fit more people in there. There's Duke fans everywhere. They're like cockroaches like Cowboys fans. Doesn't matter what part of the country you go to, there's going to be a Duke fan because there's front runners and people who have to hang on to somebody that's a winner. But that's a whole other topic for another time. But I would always I wanted to see them come one time in my life. I wanted to see them go and play at the Wells Center. A true home game for Temple rather than having to play at the Wells Fargo Center where majority of the crowd is going to end up being Duke fans. So it's not really a home game per se. But that's, like I said, that's a whole rant for another time. Dickie V was another one that would never come to North Broad. Digger Phelps would come down all the time, but Dickie V only if it was at the Wells Fargo Center or FU, whatever center it was at the time. So just one of those things that always just seemed to irk me. Tom Izzo would bring Michigan State in. Kansas has come in. Bill Self has brought Kansas into the Liacouras Center. But Rat Boy Coach K is too good or whatever. So, and if you like Duke and Coach K and I offended you, I apologize. I hate them. I can't stand them. Never could. They're up there with Cowboy fans as far as cockroaches that just, hey man, I want to latch on to a winner. So anyway, obviously you can tell I'm not a huge Duke fan. So on this day in 2012, Temple, who was unranked at the time, came in and they actually, it was the typical back and forth at the beginning, but they grabbed the lead 18-17 with like 10:40 left in the first half, and they never looked back. They led at one point in the second half by as many as 10. Duke would come back. Temple would come right back down. Khalif Wyatt had 3 big threes in the second half to every time Duke made a run. I remember watching this game on TV and just being like, oh my God, we're actually going to do it, because Duke for basketball was kind of like the nemesis like Penn State was for Temple football. You can never beat them no matter how close you played them. A lot of times it was a blowout, but it was just that was the white whale, so to speak, of Temple basketball was beating Duke. They beat Cheney in the Elite Eight 2 times, I think, and the one time I was down there, or up there, I should say, in the Meadowlands. It's just frustrating. I hate everything about Duke. Not taking anything away from Coach K's coaching ability and the Duke program. I just fucking hate them. Sorry. I just hate them, and I think as a Temple fan, I know one person, and we'll leave him remain nameless, but if you know me and my group of friends, you know who I'm talking about. I know one person who's a Temple fan and a Duke fan, and sometimes I feel his lines are blurred. But again, whole other topic for another time. But anyway, back to the game. Khalif Wyatt did hit those 3 clutch threes in the second half. Had a game-high 22 points, added 5 steals, and I think the defense is what really provided the difference in this game for the Owls. They were able to stop Duke when they had to, and typically that is what happens. Duke kind of lulls you in, and then all of a sudden, like they catch fire. This was one of Dunphy's teams, but Raleigh Hollis Jefferson also added 17 for the Owls. Miles and Mason Plumlee with 17 and 16 respectively led the way for Duke off the bench. The Plumlees were big in Duke basketball at this time. And I would put this win up there. Temple beating Duke this time. I feel like this may have been one of Fran Dunphy's biggest wins of his tenure at Temple. And again, there were not too many of them because, I mean, I shouldn't say that because there were some. He would always seem to beat a top 10 team once per year. How he did it, but then he couldn't put together. Like he would go to the tournament and just couldn't do it. Regular season, Fran Dunphy, good. NCAA tournament, Fran Dunphy, not so bad. But this team would actually go on to the NCAA tournament. They lost to UMass in the second round of the A10. They were a 5 seed, the dreaded 5 seed, because a 5 seed always ends up losing. But they took on South Florida in the first round. And I just remember this game was disgusting in the first half. It was 19-15 Temple led. They ended up getting smoked in the second half by South Florida, who ironically enough is their opponent tonight in AAC play. They're conference opponents now, but back then it was just an ugly, ugly game. But let's focus on the positive. This day in Philly sports history, January 4th, 2012, Temple beat Duke 78-73 at the Wells Fargo Center. All right, more Eagles tomorrow. Go have yourselves a Wednesday. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.